Hey folks, I'm back from Zeplin and I will quickly walk you through how you can create your Zeplin style guide by importing your Figma library. Okay, here I am in a Zeplin workspace. I will switch over to the Style Guides tab and we will start by clicking Import Library. The first thing we will need to select here is whether our style guide is going to be platform specific or not. So if you're building your components specific to iOS or web, you can go ahead and select those. But if your style guide is going to be shared across multiple platforms, you can also click on base here. For this demo, I will select web so that we can see some of the code snippets and stuff that Zeplin generates. The next thing that you will need to do is paste in your Figma library. So I have Figma here open and I have a library here. I will just copy a link to it, paste it, and click continue. And this is when Zeplin starts pulling in all the styles and components from the file. One thing that I want to note though, the information that Zeplin pulls in are the components and styles that you have published to your library. So if you're doing any explorations, anything that's like a work in progress, those will not be pulled in because we want to make sure that all the information in Zeplin is finalized. So before you do this, make sure that the ones that you want to be in Zeplin are published to your library. So looks like the styles are imported and we're gonna, it just started importing all the components. So this should take about a minute or so, so I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. So it took about a minute or so to import all the styles and components, and here we are. Before we move on though, since we are actually using color variables in this file, unfortunately Zeplin's not able to access this information through Figma's APIs, so we're going to quickly use the Zeplin plugin to import those. If you've not used the Zeplin plugin before, you can click on Actions here, and under the Plugins tab, you can search for it. But since I have it under Recents, I will just click that. And normally you would use this plugin to export frames to your regular projects. But in this case, we're just going to use it to export color variables. I will select the library that we just created. And it should just take a second. Let me see if the colors are in. Yes. Okay, so now let's switch back to the About page and talk about the style guide. So the style guide has two main sections. First up is foundations. That's where your sort of token-like things live, colors, spacing, typography, and so on. And we have the main component section. Those are all the components that we just pulled in from Figma. So if you look at the colors tab, we have all the variables listed. All of the modes are pulled in as well, light mode, dark mode. And what's really nice about doing this in Zeplin is that you also get the code snippets right here. So in this case, since this is a web style guide, we're getting all the CSS variables for light mode and dark mode. We also have a spacing section here where you can add tokens, and these tokens would actually show up as developers are inspecting the designs. And next up, we have the typography section. These are actually all the text styles that we have defined here in Figma. Those are also automatically pulled in. And then finally, we have the icon section, but I will come back to this in a minute because we first need to talk about components. Okay. Now let's switch over to the Components tab. And once you click on it, you will see that we have a bunch of component pages. These pages are actually automatically generated from your component variant groups in Figma. So all of these variant groups like button, text field with label, search bar, all of those are turned into what we call a component page. So here we have the button page. I can just double click on it, or I can select it from the left panel and it takes me to the page. Here I have more information about the component, like its description, its properties, and we see all the variants in here as well. You can also double click on the component, and this is where you would get all the specs and all the version history and stuff like that. So another thing that you could do in here is actually further organize this page. Since this component is using properties, let's actually group them based on their type. Right now they're all listed in one grid. I can click on the variant button here and click Create Groups by Property and click Type in this case. So what this does is it organizes these components under their type. So we have the primary and secondary and tertiary, they're listed separately. Okay, so another thing that we noticed a lot of teams do is combine sort of similar components under one page so you get all the information you need right away. So if I search for button here, we have lots of different pages that are related to similar components. In this case, we have button, icon button, and this small icon button. So I will select these two, and then I can also hit Command and select this additional one, and I can click Create Page down here. What this does is it combines, it sort of collects all these components under one page. You can give it a name like buttons, and you will see that now all of these components are listed in one page, and you get the little arrow and the nested components that live in this page. If you want to do further organization here, you can also organize them like similar to what we just did. You can organize the icon button based on type. So this is all up to you. Finally, I want to talk about the icons page. The icons are usually represented as components in the design tool. So by default, you would find all of your icon components within the components tab. But we noticed a lot of teams, they want to move them over to the foundation section. So that's what the icons page is for. So I can search for icon. These are our regular component pages. So let's say I can select these three, right click and hit move pages to icons. And what that does is it just takes these component pages out of the component section and moves them under the icon section. And this is a great way to just bring more visibility into sort of more frequently used components like icons. Okay, so we're pretty much set up at this point. You can go ahead and connect your style guide to Storybook if you wanted to. You can add things like markdown notes. But one thing I want to note here is that if you make any changes to your components in Figma, those would not be pulled in automatically. We actually want to give you more control over that. So whenever you make any changes to these components and you publish them, you can come back to Zeplin and just click and sync now. And that would look at Figma and see if there's any changes. In this case, we haven't made any changes, but if there were, those would be pulled in automatically, and you would have a version history for each of your components. Okay, one final thing I want to show you before I go is that once you have your style guide, this is something you can just share directly with your team. They have all the information about the design system here, but these style guides become even more powerful when you connect them to a regular Zeplin project. So let's actually switch back to our workspace and click into one of these projects. These projects are any sort of designs, mocks that you've created that we have pulled in using the Zeplin plugin. So here, since this project is connected to a style guide, whenever I'm hovering over these different elements, I'm actually getting the name of the component right away. And whenever I click on it, I have all the information that we were just looking at, like the properties of the component, which style guide does it come from. Also, you can see where this component was used in different projects. So all of the component related information is right here as a developer is implementing this design. And if they need even more information, they can just click on this arrow and this would take them to the style guide where they can get essentially all the information they need. Okay, so this is how you would set up your style guides. And once you do that, make sure that it's connected to your projects. And if you want to, like I mentioned, take things even further, you can connect these components to things like Storybook. And that's pretty much it. And if you have any questions about style guides or any feedback or things you want to see in Zeplin, please let us know. Yeah, thank you so much.